All right, just give it a second or two and then we'll get going here.
Okay.
Okay, Pat.
Okay, we are calling. This is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Ethics in the city of Norwalk, and we are beginning our meeting. So can we have a call to order, please?
So called.
Second?
A second.
Anybody? In case we have to motion this, I'm
Yeah.
learning my way through this part. Okay.
All right.
And would we like to do a roll call? Do you
Yeah,
do
let's
that
do
every
it. Let's
time?
do a roll call. Yeah, everyone can just say their name and say here or present.
Okay.
Michelle Sawyer
Patricia
present.
Agudo here.
Sorry, Pat. Michelle Sawyer present.
Pat Tony here.
Judy Sang here.
Okay, we have 4 members of the Board of Ethics, so we have a quorum. The next matter on the agenda after roll call is acceptance of the minutes. Do you need me to open up and share the minutes on the screen so everyone has an opportunity to see them? Or has everyone had a chance to review them?
I reviewed.
I reviewed them.
Does anybody have any changes that they would like to make to those minutes?
I do not.
No,
Okay.
I do not.
So if somebody would like to move to change the draft minutes dated May 22nd, 2025 from draft to final, please go ahead.
I move to accept the minutes as written for May 22nd, 2025.
And we need a second.
Second.
All right. And all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, that's unanimous. Next item on the agenda is public participation. Let's see if there's anybody here.
Okay.
We will give it another minute. When it turns to 7:03, I will stop. Right now, there are no attendees. And for the record, I received no emails concerning the July 24th, 2025 Board of Ethics agenda or the items that are on here, i.e. the minutes or the discussion that we're going to be having about educational and training programs. So we received no emails. There are no attendees. We'll just give it until just turn to 7:03. So I think we can close public participation. Nobody here. All right. So now we're up to old business. Old businesses. Discuss the creation of a Board of Ethics education/training program for the city, its officers and employees, as well as residents. So we had discussed this at, well, it's listed under old business because we had discussed this at prior meetings. We didn't really have a long conversation about these things, but we kind of gave the public a general idea of what we were thinking about doing, and then also giving you guys the heads up to think about
Key
thoughts
elements
about
we
things that you wanted to do.
I did do that part. Would we like to have a discussion, go round robin on the key elements we think should be in a training program other than what we recorded and have done? Because that is complete. It may need to be edited, it sounds like.
What's
over
that?
the course of the last couple months,
What's
like a
that?
word or two or length of time.
For what? What do we have to edit?
I thought I heard there were a couple of things along the way and I didn't write them down so we
I
may
thought,
have
do
to
you
just
mean
look
the
at them.
videos that we did? They needed to be
Yeah, the
edited?
videos. There was something that needed to be either the
I don't
amount
know.
of days or hours.
There were
changed.
some that still needed to be filmed, but I believe they're all done, correct, Brian?
They're all done.
Yeah.
They're all done. So the PowerPoints are done. You guys finished those off. You finished off the videos. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with topics to discuss, probably the creation of some hypotheticals because it's impossible to talk about this just in theory, just to give people an idea of, well, first of all, I think generally speaking, to introduce the Code of Ethics to those who aren't aware, in a seminar, meeting, whatever you want to call it. The idea would be to have one of them during the day and one of them at night so that people who couldn't attend during the day or vice versa could attend one of those 2 meetings. Hopefully we could also get IT to record it so that it would be on it could be uploaded somewhere onto the system. But essentially introduce the Code of Ethics, explain the Code of Ethics, and as you explain each section, perhaps discuss it and then provide examples. It doesn't have to be a long seminar, but certainly, I
now,
think about
but,
an
you
hour
know,
would be sufficient.
I don't know, maybe it will end up being an hour and a half or a
Could
2-hour
be,
session,
could be. It really depends on what kind of feedback you get to.
I wrote down some points that I wanted to throw out and see how everybody felt. And then if anybody else wrote down points, we can, go back and forth with it. The first thing I did write down was that, where's my number one? Okay, we had recorded it. That all employees, all elected officials, all officers, directors who are considered employees of the city would be required to take this. Now, we have to get some buy-in, I think, from the corporate HR there and maybe the chief of staff and that sort of thing, but I'm not sure. But how does everybody feel about that? Because I'm taking it off some principles that, I've used in the past with ethics and with, harassment trainings, that anti-harassment trainings, that kind of thing. And so that was my first kind of principle that we would want to discuss with someone who's going to help us within the city to coordinate this.
All the more reason to have this not only in person or via Zoom, but to also record it so that those who can't
Mhm.
attend can
How
watch it
does-
at their leisure,
Yeah, yes, exactly. It doesn't have to be, but we'll offer some sessions, but not everybody can do that. But how do the rest of you feel about that? Anybody have any comment?
No, I had written, one of the things I had written down was I think that, I had thought perhaps, I don't know what the city does for an employee orientation, but it should
Right.
certainly be a part of an employee orientation. And I think at some point it should be, and maybe, I don't know how we would implement this. Obviously, it'd be easier for new employees than employees
Right.
already
Right.
in the city, but at some point, like, we have to make sure that someone has, that employees and elected officials and everyone have acknowledged that they know that that it exists,
Exactly, that there's an
and that they
acknowledgement
know, they
in,
understand what it
yeah,
means. So
yeah.
whether that's simply they attend a webinar or a seminar and they sign something that says, I attended this, I understand, I'm
Mhm.
saying, I know there's a code of ethics.
Absolutely.
Or for on incoming, employees, maybe it's part of an orientation that they read it or view the webinar, the things we've recorded. And but
Mhm.
I think there has to be some sort of acknowledgement that goes in everyone's file so that people can't come
Absolutely.
back to us and say, I
That's
didn't
my
even know there
next
was a
point.
code, nobody told me, I didn't know I had
Right,
to do these
right,
things, I
right.
didn't know I was, held responsible for these things. So I think that
I
it's
think,
important that we have some sort of acknowledgement there,
sure.
for employees and other, people that fall underneath this.
So it's,
And I think part of it is, part of it is IT might be able to help us with the digital. There,
Mhm.
you don't need to have like an actual paper written copy. If people access the meeting, however they access the meeting, they can go back to their desk if they're at the meeting in person
Yeah.
or after the meeting via Zoom or when they're
Mhm.
watching it remotely and complete whatever they need to complete in order to document that they've done this. Just like when we have cybersecurity training, which is
Mhm.
ongoing, we have to watch the videos within a certain period of time. And at the end, we have to, it
Very
acknowledges that you've done it. So it is possible.
Yeah.
We'll
It
have to
is.
So
work with
anything
HR and
like that, I
IT.
just think there needs to be a
There
record
has to be, I
that
agree,
people
absolutely,
have
absolutely.
acknowledged that they know what this is. So
and I agree also, I think there's possibly two ways to require it. Meaning, one to attend it in real time,
Mhm.
and then you have the advantage of participating in a Q&A, have some sort of discussion. And if that's not possible, that they would observe the recording. And then again, coming up with a process of how to document that. But the question that I would have is, are we going to make it required? And I believe that we should, but how do we do that?
Right. So I guess,
Well, I think we can
We've
just
always had
start
that.
there, excuse me, Brian, but I think that's where we could have a, if we all agreed, that's where we could have a starting point with any other people in management, quote unquote, who would implement this thing, could weigh in on some of the things we either absolutely want or are flexible on.
Mhm.
But I think required and repeatable are two things that need to happen, like every 2 or every 3 years. Who's ever done it before needs to do it again, or, as you said, Michelle, if people are coming in orientation, from a certain point, they're going to get it from the first couple of months that they're there. And then the clock ticks and they do it again because the provisions may change.
Yeah. The question I have is though, who, and Brian, this might be a question for you, is
Mm.
who makes the decisions about what they're required? I mean, obviously it's an HR function, I would assume.
Yeah.
And so we probably don't have the authority to mandate it, but
No.
who
We can
do
recommend
we
it,
make
though.
those recommendations to
Sure.
Sure.
that can make those decisions, I guess is our first.
It would be, so the decision making would probably be HR and mayor's office.
That's what I
But
thought.
IT should be copied for,
That would be great.
practical purposes
Yeah.
about if it's going to proceed, when it proceeds forward, not if, when it proceeds forward, how are they going to implement it? Because they're going to be necessary in order to reach a broad audience.
Right.
Yes.
Sure.
You guys come up with the points that you want, based on your conversations here and amongst yourselves afterwards. Come up with the things that you want, that you absolutely want, that you are negotiable on, and then we can work on trying to reach out to the
Find the
necessary
who's
people to
to
get.
talk to. Exactly.
Yep.
Does anybody think we should have an introduction by us? I mean, I know we're recording things, but here's just a picture of who your ethics board is presently. Because I've been
It
told
becomes
nobody
obsolete
knows they
as people
exist.
change though, that's the thing. So we don't want to be recording these every time we have new people on the board. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like
No,
it
I
sort of
meant like
becomes
a picture.
obsolete.
Here is your ethics board. We do have one. They meet once a month,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Here's the mission, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Oh no, I thought you meant like like introducing
Oh,
us
yeah.
individually. I was like, we're gonna change in and out, and it's
Yeah.
gonna become obsolete.
You guys
pretty
aren't allowed
quickly.
to leave.
But
I'm just
yes,
letting you know.
the idea of a board and what we do, yes, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah,
No?
so I'm
Okay, those
taking
were
some notes down for you
the
guys.
elements that I had. What did everybody else had that is like a, if you could have your wish list, is there anything else that we would add to it?
Well, for myself, I actually wrote down several things and
Okay.
it's all emphasizing certain things based on some of our experiences, making sure that it's clear, it's all things from the actual code itself. And, I think we should continue this discussion now, but I guess I'm wondering if it would be appropriate to either have a task force or a separate meeting for just, planning about how we're gonna do this.
Yes, working
Meaning,
it out.
if
Yeah.
it's important to talk about confidentiality, say, and
Uh-huh.
how are we gonna do that and who's gonna do that? And I mean, it wouldn't be really anything new, but it might just be further explanation.
Mhm.
If we had examples for certain aspects of, and I think we're all pretty much in agreement that to use some examples would be a very good thing, but just wondering if a session to do that
The actual planning, you mean?
and we would
Yeah,
only
I have
discuss
no
that. We
problem
would
with our getting,
we wouldn't be
together to talk about it.
Yeah,
that's
we
for sure.
wouldn't be discussing anything else other than
Mhm.
here's how the presentation's gonna go. If we're gonna do it, how the PowerPoint or the discussion or who's gonna say what or that kind of thing. So just
What we envision, so that when
Yeah.
we go to the other people in HR or mayor's office, that would, say, okay, agree. I guess HR would get to run with the scheduling of it, and that's an IT.
right.
Well, I mean, you guys would have to, yes, they would run with the scheduling. It would have to be at your convenience. I'm not saying all of you need to be there because that's not feasible.
Hmm.
I think perhaps, you know, to the extent that we could have a majority of you there over the course of 2 sessions, let's say one in the evening and one in the day, you know, 3
You
and
just see
3,
two
4 and 2, whatever it
sessions.
might
I
be.
see many more than 2 sessions that
Mm.
would happen with new employee orientations, and we may need more, that a couple of more, you know, a couple of day sessions, a couple of evening sessions to kick it off. You're right.
Yeah, you know, I mean, part of it is, we have the code, we have the citizens guide. If you do a symposium like this and you do it during the day or during the night, and one of them is recorded,
Uh-huh.
um,
Then we have
as
that.
part of the as part of the initiation to coming to the
Mhm.
city, you get a copy of the code, you get a copy of the citizens guide, and here's a web link. Watch this thing and then acknowledge however you want to acknowledge. I think the video is going to make it so that you guys don't have to do this 5 or 6 times. You do it once
Right.
or twice, and then people have access to it. And if
Yeah.
there's a desire for another in live session because people just want to see in person what's going on, or they can ask questions, then we can
Mhm.
certainly have one. But for now, I think 1 and record it, and then back by popular demand, you come back and maybe have another one, make yourselves available, things of that nature.
Right.
I think that's probably more is realistic.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I, I get the sense in the city that there's no, that, you know, like the first Monday of the month isn't the day of orientation, that they're onboarded as they are
Yes.
available. Is that
You're on
right?
board when you come.
Yeah.
Right. So,
That was my experience.
yeah,
Okay.
um, so to say that we would be available the first Monday of every month or whatever, might not be really
Feasible,
realistic.
because
And
they
I
could be
agree
on
that,
onboarding somebody every single day.
eventually a
Yeah.
video of
Yeah,
what
it has
I've
to switch
discussed.
over to that. If one, two, three of us are rotated around every once in a while, if we want to put up our picture, that's one thing. We don't have to be there. But if somebody's available on a session, the first ones might be nice, but not for all of, if all of us can't be, then we can't be. But
You do the
you
best that
know,
you can. If, you know,
yeah,
I'll make
I'm
myself
not,
available.
I
I'll
mean,
make
I'm
myself
used to
available those
doing
days so
these.
that
Yeah.
if there's only 2 of you, then there's some slack pickup. And if there's 4 of you, then I can sit back and let you guys run with it. But I'm not going to let somebody do this by themselves or something. If we're short, we only have 1 or 2.
It's the
That's
first
a
couple
tall
of,
order.
yeah, they're gonna need to, you know, we've been living it and working with the code and the citizens guide. So I think I don't mind assisting whoever is going to get charged with this.
Mhm.
The only
You know.
question I would have about an evening,
Yeah.
well, certainly more convenient for some people, but would they get paid for that? You know, that always seems to come up with when you.
Oh, you mean like employees?
Like
Mhm.
hourly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
would think an
I mean,
hourly person, if they're on hourly or non-exempt salary, they would.
so yeah, I mean, the answer would probably be based on the current situation would be that either make it during the day. We're not going to pay you overtime to go to this thing. And if you can't do that, then you're going to watch the Code of Ethics Symposium recording that we have
Mhm.
on a break or during the day, because it is a work-related item. So, I mean, just
Yes.
find time during the day to watch it in 10 or 15-minute increments until you get through it.
Mhm.
That's good enough. I mean, just write down where you
That's
are.
good.
It's not that
Yeah.
complicated.
I have a question about,
Sure.
I like the idea of the task force, but Brian, tell us what the implications about us meeting outside of this is it counted as a meeting? Like
Yes.
what, all of those
So,
rules we have to follow around that.
sure. So if you have four of you are meeting to discuss this, it's going to be a quorum. We have to publicly notice it in a way that is compliant with the Freedom of Information Act.
That's what I was
If you're,
afraid of.
yeah, if you're not
I just want to
meeting,
make sure we know what we're
Yeah,
doing.
no, you're
yeah, if you're not
excellent at
meeting, if you're only meeting with 3
knowing
or
that.
less, then you're okay.
Okay.
In terms of not, I mean, it's still okay to meet with 4 people. We just have to notice the meeting properly. We'd have to set it up as a special meeting. We'd have to make sure that you had Zoom capability so that people could watch,
Okay.
and it would be recorded.
Even if it's just a discussion,
Discussion.
a planning.
If it's 4 or more than you, it's a quorum, and it would have to satisfy the requirements of.
Do
of
these
FOIA.
other things.
Right.
Okay.
There are very limited exceptions under the Freedom of Information Act when you don't have to notice a meeting, for example, a caucus, where you have a majority, like the council is 14 Democrats, 1 independent right now. So if
Mhm.
the Democrats have a caucus, they don't have to notice it as a meeting because it's an exemption. It's accepted from the Freedom of Information Act. That is an example of one where you have a quorum, but it doesn't meet the definition of a public meeting. So therefore you don't have to notice it. So here we don't have that. It wouldn't be a caucus. It would actually be a meeting. So we'd have to notice it. If you want to meet with 4 or more, you want to meet with
Okay.
2, 1, you want to meet with 2 or 3, you're okay.
Okay.
It can't be a caucus, though.
Can't be, you can't, yeah, it's not, it can't be, you cannot, it's not a caucus and you can't have a quorum. Otherwise, unless you set up the meeting the way we set up this meeting or a
Mhm.
special meeting, it would be a violation of FOIA.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I wanted to make
Yep.
sure before we
Okay,
started
good. So
having
if we
task
do
force meetings,
that, then
you're
if we
following.
had smaller groups, we could
Yeah.
obviously have, if
Yeah, I
other
mean,
people are
we can meet in
interested.
smaller groups and then come back at
Yeah.
the next meeting with
Yeah.
our findings
And
for the
please
smaller
be
groups.
careful about emails. Emails also constitute Freedom
Yeah.
of Information Act.
If there are more than
Um,
4 people, right?
If we're just talking about like, hey, here's the invitation, the Zoom invitation to the meeting, no. But if you guys are saying, oh, we're, this is, Kitty and Michelle talked about this item for, an hour and a half, and these are our thoughts, and you send it to everyone, that's a meeting.
Okay,
Okay. That's good.
so many rules.
Yeah, so again, if you have any questions, just ask me about it. But as long as you're in smaller groups and as long as you share your findings or what you're coming up with at a meeting,
Yes.
we can schedule special meetings if you want to speed things up. But it seems to me that you're all volunteers, you all have something else to do other than this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys spend the time that you have in between meetings doing what you do, then when you come to the next meeting, we'll have, a
A
useful
little
meeting.
more information
Yeah.
to put out there and
Sure.
solidify. Now, who would go to whoever to get this rolling, and what's the probability with with an election going on in November that this would start to happen before, after? What do you all think?
So, well, I'll let everyone else talk, then I'll talk.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I mean, I would assume that given the fact that we know there was going to be a new mayor, there's going to be new,
You would think chief of staff, yeah.
right, I mean, all it could be a whole new, set of
Agree.
people. So, trying to push this through between now and November to get it on, only to have everybody turn it around seems
Yes.
problematic in my opinion, but
But would you, I think I'm hearing you say it's something that we can maybe start, but we're gonna have to get this buy-in again by who's ever in these roles. If they're not the same people,
correct.
which the mayor won't be the same person, but the
Correct.
chief of staff could be, I suppose.
Or what about
Or the
HR,
HR
Brian?
person. Yeah, what
HR
about
changed
HR?
with
I mean,
it?
there are city employees, aren't there?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so,
maybe not.
well, the chiefs serve at the pleasure of the mayor.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So
it
the
could be a whole
ones that are in
different
charge
person.
of, the ones that are in charge of the department. So for example, I'll just give you a quick example. The finance director is in charge of controller, tax assessor, tax collector, purchasing. That's somebody who serves at the pleasure of the mayor. So all the department chiefs, the chief of police, the fire chief, chief economic community development, they serve at the pleasure of the mayor. Chief of staff obviously serves at the pleasure of the mayor. But that doesn't mean that you can't reach out to them and let them know, hey, this is what our thoughts are. I don't think it hurts to reach out to the current administration to let those who are in power know that this is what we're doing. We've already told them that we're doing this. They already know about it, but hey, we're coming back to it so that, and that's why we have transition periods. When the election's over, like you said, there's going to be a new mayor regardless. So
Well,
that
yeah,
transition
is
period
true.
between November 5 and December 31 or January 1, however you want to say it,
Mhm.
the new mayor is supposed to have space according to the charter, supposed to have space in City Hall so that they can
Yes.
interact with the old administration to make the transition as smooth as possible. And that would be an opportunity to speak with old guard who's leaving and new guard that's coming in to let them know, hey, this is something we've been working on for a couple months now or a year or whatever it is. But I mean, right now, you guys have the opportunity to think about the topics and the things you want to talk about and to start creating it so that it's closer to a finished product by the time the new administration comes in.
I think that should be our goal is to.
That should be the
is
goal.
to have
Absolutely. Yeah.
have the finalized version, have our final recommendations and all of those things
And being
ready
able
for-
to talk in that crossover period, we could hit the ground
Correct.
running at least by the new year. That'd be good.
Exactly.
Kitty, do you agree with that? Do you have anything you want to add? We're sitting here chatting and I just want to be sure your ideas are captured as well.
I have no ideas right now because all of this is still new to me, and I probably should take some time to read that code of ethics.
Well, just take when you get a chance, take a look at that and, see how you think you would
Yeah,
present.
Kitty, what
Yeah,
I'll
training.
do
I need to do
is,
that first.
Kitty, I will forward you again links to the code in the Citizens Guide, but I'm also going to send you the PowerPoint slides, which are kind of like a footnote, cliff note version of each of the sections. You might want to read
That's our
those
training,
first.
Yeah.
The videos are too large to send. I'm happy to show you them if you want to come in to the office. I can show them to you, but I think the PowerPoint slides and those two other things would be a good start.
Yeah.
Okay.
might actually be
Do
Kitty-
we think we want to are we allowed, Brian, to take some time to think over the next week about, okay, maybe we can all get 3 of us can get together at a time
Yeah,
to talk about the principles or the elements of the training that we were just talking about?
Sure.
Take another look at the slides. Does anything need to be, updated? I don't know if the one thing I'm remembering is when people leave, is it 12 months? Certain people leave, is it 12 months or
It's 12 months.
13 months or
It's 12.
something longer that they were,
12.
bound
12.
by?
12.
It's 12. What I would tell you is that hopefully I'll have a little bit of a lull, hopefully at the beginning of August. And if that's the case, I will try to review other ethics seminars that I went to and try to provide you guys with some guidance about, how they went about doing it or how many hypotheticals they used. I mean, ideally what you're probably talking about is discussing a section and then using a hypothetical to explain what you've been talking about. That's probably the simplest way for you guys to do it. It's also easier. It's an easier transition for somebody. If somebody's doing the day session, if they're doing 32.4 conflicts of interest, for example, and they're doing the day session, but they're not going to be doing the night session to make sure that we're saying the same thing. It's probably a good idea to have the same hypotheticals so that it's easier for other people to follow if they're not the true author of that section, so to speak.
Correct. And then we also have to see what other people think of everyone taking it day, night, sign off this. I think those things seem obvious to me, but that's to me because that's one of the things I am familiar with doing, but it may not be.
I think what might be a good idea, Pat, is for somebody to kind of digest this collection, which I will send everyone. I've been taking some notes. I'll send it to all of you, and somebody digest it, come up with your own ideas, send it out so that it's not a quorum via email, collect all the information back, and then at the next meeting in August say, okay, this is what people said in response to these messages. Michelle has her hand up.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a great idea, and I think I go back to Kitty, getting it and seeing it for the first time. I think that's a really good time for someone who hasn't seen it and who hasn't been involved in all of it to digest it, and for you to be able to come back to us and say, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, because the rest of us have been very
help us
in depth with it, and so we've talked a lot about it, and sometimes you read through stuff and you don't know what doesn't make sense because you've seen it so many times. So I think that you taking the time to look at it might be really helpful for the rest of us to know to make sure that it makes sense to the person who's never seen it, because most of these employees will never have seen it, and so that I think is going to be very valuable.
Everyone's got blind spots, whether you've seen this before or not.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to take a look at 32.4 conflicts of interest, and it's going to make perfect sense to them. Others are going to be like, I have no idea what this is saying.
Right.
And that person will have a better idea about what 32.7 says, prohibited gifts.
Right.
So everyone's got blind spots, weaknesses, and strengths. So I think it's helpful to have everyone interact with one another over the next month to come up with, you know, a little bit more detail. And in the interim, hopefully I can give you guys a better idea of what other professionals have done when they've done seminars. For example, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities has they have put together ethics seminars in the past. Mostly all mine are pre-COVID when we were meeting in person for these things. They haven't really done them since, even Zoom.
Yeah.
But I can try to give you guys an idea of what it was they were talking about. Maybe if I can find the seminar papers, I could just give them to you, and then you could take a look at them and see what they were doing.
Okay. We're all allowed to talk. You just said we weren't allowed to talk together.
Separately, you know, send out emails. You know, somebody has to be the ringleader, probably
Okay,
Pat.
all
Pat
right. Well,
Hay.
I mean, that's,
You know-
I just don't want to create something
Yeah.
that, you know, we had a meeting and we didn't want to do that. Right.
At the end of all of the emails, regardless of whether you're the sender or the responder to the email,
Mhm.
everyone should try to do their best when they're responding to say, you know, let's keep this under 4 people so that we're not having a quorum and we're not
Right.
violating FOIA. It's
Okay.
like similar to what I say when I send my emails out to all of you guys. I'm not hitting reply all to my email, which is just scheduling the meeting with here's the Zoom link.
Yes.
Things of that nature. You know, obviously you guys are going to be in contact with Catherine and Lori and Amy, and you can just remind them that we're not sending it out to everybody for that reason. So when it's a targeted strike, you know, Pat's going to send it. Pat's number 1. She can send it to 2 more people, and you're at 3. So it's not like she can
Right.
send it to 3
Okay.
because now we're at 4.
And then we go to other 3. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the most efficient way to do it, but if
No.
you guys want to get a lot done in between the next meeting, unfortunately, that's going to be what happens. And perhaps maybe midway through or after everyone's responded, Pat or somebody can digest all of it and say in individual emails, which are identical, this is what I've come up with based on what people have said. Look at it again before the next meeting or something along those lines.
Okay. I like aim. Anyway, we can aim for that. That's
Mhm.
good. I mean, we're still in summer, so people are going to be coming and going, I think.
Yeah.
But we should get it started, or we'll be saying the same things for whatever
This time next
time of the
year,
year.
yeah.
You know, it is. So
Just so you know, our next meeting would be the 28th of August. It's the 4th Thursday of every month. So it'll be the 28th of August. I know that's right around Labor Day. I think Labor Day is the 1st that year. So I don't know if people are taking vacations. It is certainly possible. But if we can't have that meeting on that day and you do want to meet, let me know far enough in advance and we could try to set up a special meeting so that we can bypass that issue. So if people, but we have to make sure, number 1, that we have a quorum for that special meeting date, and we have to do it far enough in advance so that we can request a Zoom link, and we can make sure that we have enough people.
okay.
I mean, I envision that the discussions we would have would be the things that we learned are most important or most confusing or whatever. For instance, conflict of interest, as you were saying, I think that's something that needs to be expanded on in however we present this. And there are other things that, as we've learned along the way, that need a broader discussion. And I think so those are some of the things that we should bring up when we have our emails or small meetings or whatever.
Sure.
Just,
And as we
Really
evolve, as we've got that, you know, kind of guidance that the city is evolving, and how it evolves will be, you know, how much support is given to doing these sessions, doing them on some kind of regular basis, and having people sign off that they've attended. So those are things too.
exactly.
Yep.
Guess I'm not sure how deep it went into the organization at all, even if the, you know, new hire orientations. It's not usually.
That's probably a question for HR.
Yeah. If we're allowed to ask them a question, that would be nice.
I'm
What they
sure you
do.
can. I
Okay.
can put you, if you guys have questions and you need to figure out who to send questions to or inquiries or
Mhm.
whatever, just let me know and I can try to
Okay.
link you up with the right people.
Good. Anybody have
I think
anything
that's
else?
a good plan.
Yeah. I think we have our macro plan here.
All right. Does anyone else want to talk about anything else concerning this education or training that we've been talking about?
I don't think so.
Okay. We have, let's see what's next on the agenda.
New business.
New business. We don't have anything under new business. So there's nothing there. There is no discussion items unless someone has a discussion item that they want to talk about right now.
And I,
Nope.
We do not need to go into executive session. So the final thing would be adjournment of the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second? All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming, so we could get a quorum and at least start the process. As you can see,
Yes.
again, I will send that email to Kitty with that information along with the PowerPoints. And I will send all of you in separate emails to avoid a quorum issue under FOIA, my notes that I took. They're not detailed, but it's at least a starting point.
All right.
Understood.
doing
I'll
that.
do the same, and then we'll, do that and figure out which three of us want to meet first and discuss and go from there.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
you.
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
night, everybody.